My father was a drunk, alcoholic, and my dad would actually beat us, me and my brother, and my mom. Grew up around that type of environment where there was gangs, drugs, violence. So we kind of had to learn everything from the streets. One time, I was 10 years old and I got jumped for the first time. Had my backpack stolen, had my shoes taken. I went home and my father asked me, "Where's your backpack? Where's your stuff?" And I said, I got jumped by 4 Hispanics, and he didn't believe me. He thought that I threw away my backpack. He thought that I wasn't trying to do good in school, so he beat me. And so at the age of 12 years old, I actually joined a gang. So having fun, going out with gang members, stuff like that I thought was really fun. 3 months into it, at the age of 12, I caught my first case. And that was originally a kidnapping/robbery, but they dropped the charges down.
At 12 years old?
At 12 years old, they gave me 4 years. I had seen rapes, I had seen murders, I had seen stabbings, fightings. I learned how to fight there. They call it gladiator school for a reason. You fight a lot. I get out 67 days, 2 months and a week. I catch my second case. This time I'm an adult. They tried me as an adult. They gave me 10 years. When you go to prison, you have to drop your flag, you have to drop everything, and you have to represent the other car or the race. I was able to get anger management, counseling. Everything looked on the up, but there was one thing that I really couldn't get rid of, and it was this emptiness and this void I had felt inside of my heart. I get out after doing my stretch. I meet my mom, and she was still married to my father, her husband, who was still an abusive, alcoholic person. As I got out, I had that heart that I wanted to still do better and do good. I had lived my whole life doing bad things and following myself, trusting myself. I tried to look for a job, but as a 2-strike felon with a violent crime, it wasn't happening. Immediately, I went back to the streets. I started to sell drugs again. My thinking at the time was, if I'm selling all these drugs, it's risky, but if I just rob someone who sells all the drugs, then I would inherit and gain a lot of money. It was me and a friend of mine. He was like my road dog. I told him I was gonna go to the right of the car. He was gonna go to the left of the car. When I stepped to go to the right of the car, my friend stepped in front of me. So naturally, I went to the left of the car. As I'm walking up on the driver's side of the car, I hear 3 gunshots, and when it rang out, I actually assumed initially that it was my friend who shot the dude. I was like, damn, you didn't even give him a chance. Well, whatever, it is what it is. We'll roll with the punches. We're very cold like that. Actually, the car sped off and I realized it was my friend that had gotten shot. And there I'm holding him and he died in my arms. I had thought about it like that was supposed to be me. I started to really think in my life like I could feel death around the corner. And 3 days after that, I had received a letter from one of my friends, just a childhood friend. He grew up with us in the projects in Section 8. I find out that he had committed suicide in jail. So there was death all around me and I was feeling that, it was creeping up on me. Miraculously, my mom actually, a couple days after these incidents had happened, her car had broken down. And she was like, "Hey, Johnny, I need you to take me to church." She's a translator. She was very involved at the time. I remember this pastor runs out. He asks me 2 questions that really kind of shocked me. He said, "Are you a sinner? And do you know what sin is?" And at that time, I felt a little angry, to be honest, because I felt like that was a loaded question. Like, who's not a sinner? We're all born imperfect. We're all flawed as human beings. We've all made. He said, when you look at the seeds of an apple, where are the apples? But if you plant it, as it grows, it'll only produce apples. No matter how hard it tries, it cannot produce oranges or mangoes. Likewise, when you look at a baby, where's the sin? It's very cute, it's loving, but as it grows, as it matures, all you see is sin. They start to, lie, they start to cheat, steal, they can even murder, And so when I saw that, it really made a lot of sense to me as a person. He was saying that there's a braking system in the car and it must overcome the accelerator. Otherwise, if the accelerator overcomes the brake, we will crash, right? No one would drive that car, even if it was a Ferrari, because it has no brakes. Likewise, we are people who need to have self-control. If we don't have self-control and our desires are like the accelerator, if it keeps going, I want to do drugs, I want to make money, then if you don't manage that, you'll crash out in life and you'll live miserably. And in that case, he said, that's where I come in as a pastor. He said, I am your braking system, right? So at that time, he had asked me, how is your relationship with your father? said, is horrible. I honestly hate him. You know, I feel like the reason why I joined a gang, the reason why I was angry, the reason I was so like violent was because of my father. He had mentioned, okay, so listen to me very carefully. He said, when you meet your father, I want you to apologize to him. Excuse my language, but I was like, fuck that, honestly, because I didn't ask to be born. So we planned to go to this pho restaurant in Alhambra. And we get there, he's sitting across from me. I'll never forget. It's awkward. There's so much tension. He's not looking me in my face. I'm looking off to the wall. But I remember vividly what the pastor told me, you know, just move forward, just apologize. It's okay. You know, I am your braking system, right? So I told him, Dad, you know, I'm here today to tell you that I'm sorry. I'm sorry for being a bad son. I'm sorry for being a bad... Sorry. I'm sorry that I wasn't there for you, that I didn't help, and I didn't live up to your standards. And then my father actually, he started crying. He said, no, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I was a bad father. I'm sorry I didn't give you a good childhood, and I'm sorry I couldn't control my drinking, and that you had to suffer because of that. You know, 20 years of pain, anger, frustration. It was crushed. We hugged it out. And now we have a great relationship.